guys, this is going to be a really cool video. This is the new Relic episode, the first one where I actually use this title live rather than go back and edit it. Yeah, I didn't invent the name, it's from Brutal Legend, I just thought it kind of worked. So, we are going to be talking about classic heavy metal and speed metal and power metal, more like the German stuff than like modern power metal, but yeah. If you want black and death metal, this might not be the video for you. There'll be more of that content. I'm certainly no less a lover of those genres, but also this is the kind of stuff I love just as much. So yeah, it's a bit different. There's 30 records here, and then I guess back to normal programming. This one, it would have been smaller. I meant to make it, and then I got more stuff, and I was just like, you know, let's make a massive traditional heavy metal video. So if you are a maniac for the old school, this is the video for you. I'm not going to talk too much about all these releases because I think a lot of them are very classic and people know these ones. Some maybe not, but you know, do your own research. It's one thing me talking about them, but that's not going to tell you how cool a record is till you listen to it for yourself. So, you know, make up your own opinions. But I hope this will inspire some interest in what I deem some classic records. First up, we have one tape, and that is Pagan Altar, the Time Lord, which I guess is more of an EP than an album. Temple of Mystery from Canada reissued this, but definitely an early template for epic doom metal, really essential if you like doom metal. Next we have some CDs and some records. There was just one tape. So we have Axwitch, Pray for Metal. For me, this is what a heavy metal album cover should look like. It's a bit crude, it's very obnoxious and just very basic, but it just looks great. Yeah, classic cult Swedish heavy metal. That's an EP, as is this, which is Jagdpanzer with the Tyrants EP. Also classic, a bit more kind of power metal-y stuff. Now we have Savage Grace, classic speed metal, reissued by Hammerheart Records. They did the first two albums. I love both almost equally, to be honest, but I picked this one because I figured this is probably the more classic one. Now, if that album cover doesn't make you kind of cringe a bit, but in a cool way, I don't know what will. Essential new wave of British heavy metal, Raven. For me, the first three albums, some will say the first two. I really like the third album too, but definitely the debut, Rock Until You Drop. Everyone must have this one, I think. Really cool. If you like new wave of British heavy metal. Now, Omen, one of the classic American power metal bands from Metal Blade's glory days. Really love this album. Again, the album cover for me just tells you everything you need to know about this. Actually, before I go further ahead, if you buy the new Fistful of Metal magazine, there is a bit somewhere around here called Aces High, where just people can submit their own. And look at that, they let me put mine in there where I talk about some of the very records you'll hear about today. So just me plugging something I did and I'm happy about. But yeah, it's a really cool magazine. I wouldn't have submitted it just to anything. I really like that magazine. And yeah. Also, talking of magazines, the Shrieks from the Abyss anthology is finally available to pre-order from Cult Never Dies. It's issues 1 and 2 that were already out in a kind of print your own copies. I sent some out to like Extremely Rotten, Headsplit had some. But yeah, then the third issue, which is like 10 bands rather than 5, so it's way bigger. It's 120 pages. So yes, it's like a book of the interviews I've done and Cosmic Constructions artwork and stuff. So yeah, really proud of that, just for anyone interested. Now back to it. I have Avenger, which is sort of new wave of British heavy metal, maybe bordering a bit more on speed metal, again from the UK, with this very red cover art and a helmet that I believe they still use on stage. Blitzkrieg, same singer as Satan. Blitzkrieg's maybe a bit more focused on groove rather than melody like Satan, but they're still quite melodic, and if you like Satan, I think you'll like Blitzkrieg. This is a really cool album. I'm amazed this album didn't blow up as much as it should have, really. Similarly, with Tokyo Blade self-titled, I wasn't sure whether to use this one or Night of the Blade. I really love both albums, but I guess that's got a bit more of a hair metal sound, so it might not appeal to everyone, whereas this is just straight classic heavy metal. And this one comes with the 7 inches as well, which is really nice to have for a young person like me who didn't get the 7 inches in the 80s because I didn't exist in the 80s. You know, it's really special to have. Chastain, when people talk about a band with crazy vocals, Chastain is a band that I always think of because Leather's vocals, sorry I said it on the back, I couldn't think of her name then, but her vocals are just wild, and especially on this album, Ruler of the Wasteland. Next, some German sort of power thrash, we have Iron Angel. These guys sort of were a bit heavier than the German power metal like Stormwitch and Halloween and stuff. Maybe a bit more in the camp of Running Wild, where there's a bit more extremity to the sound, but still very powerful and epic. It's Hellish Crossfire, and again, great album cover. You'll notice a theme of very crude but awesome album covers in this video, I think. Stranger, The Bell. This is one of a couple albums that I found completely by accident on one of those full heavy metal albums channels. 'Cause when I'm at home, I only really listen to physical music unless I'm reviewing. But when I'm away from home, I will listen to like music on YouTube, because obviously I'm not going to bring 3,000 records with me everywhere I go, as much as that's what my heart desires. And Stranger just came on autoplay on YouTube or something, and I was like, oh, this rules, I need this. And that actually rings true for Attack. So these are two albums that I just found completely by accident, and I've really fallen in love with over the last few years. Well, at least for Stranger, a few years. For Attack, I only found them fairly recently, actually. But yeah, I had to get it. So yeah, there's some very cool. They're both German, I believe. Attack are definitely German. I'm sure Stranger are German. There's going to be a lot of German stuff in this video, because the Germans and Americans make the best power metal. And the Swedes, too. Next we have Liege Lord. This is Burn to My Touch. I couldn't think if it was My or Your. All three Liege Lord albums. I think they did three. There's the reddish one, the first one, and then this is the middle one, I think. I'm really bad at titles, because I just put albums on. But yeah, this is my favourite one, but they're all great. And yeah, really cool. Just look at those photos. This is a really nice power metal album. And now Medieval Steel. This is the Dungeon tapes. So what you get here are like the demo and the 7-inch. So it's, how many tracks is it? It's 9 tracks. It ends in the EP, and then has some like a couple demos or singles before it. The Medieval Steel self-titled EP, I think, is just a perfect example of epic heavy metal. This is getting reissued as well. I was lucky to grab one of the Skull Records ones, but if you don't have this and don't want to spend a bunch, there is a reissue coming, I saw. So thanks to a guy called James for pointing that out. So yeah, Medieval Steel is back for everyone. Another one of these bands that I discovered just from listening to YouTube away from home was Glacier. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I was just listening to stuff, and they came on, and it was around not so long ago, I think maybe 2-3 years ago, that they released a brand new album, so they're still active. It's a really good album as well. They're not one of those bands who have made a comeback only for it to be terrible, but their 1985 self-titled EP, this one has a bonus track too, for anyone interested. Really killer American power metal from 1985. Next, I'm not sure if this band has been in it or not, but if I couldn't risk that they haven't, because I'd be really disgusted with myself if so. But Heavy Metal Maniac by Exciter. I couldn't pick between this or Long Live the Loudest. Both those albums are perfect in my book, but we're going to go with this one because it's an album called Heavy Metal Maniac for all the Heavy Metal Maniacs. Yeah, Exciter. This, I don't really need to say much about this. This is just the Megaforce reissue on CD. Everyone should have this record. Next we have Holocaust. Again, I didn't know whether to talk about the full length or this, but I really like this. It's a collection of the 7 inches. Especially the, oh fuck, I've forgotten the title of it, that's really typical. The Death or Glory 7-inch, oh no, it's called Heavy Metal Mania, sorry, my brain is just terrible with titles today, but yeah, all of these 7 inches rule, but yeah, Heavy Metal Mania is just the perfect song to follow Heavy Metal Maniac. But yeah, Holocaust, great new wave of British heavy metal, and yeah, this No Remorse reissue has all of the EPs, so if you're like me and like EPs, but yeah, I already said this about one of the other ones. Now with Hellstar, this was a tricky one to pick. I went with Nosferatu. I also have the one before this, which is also blue. The name escapes me. I'm trying to see it. My eyes aren't good enough for that, but this is going to annoy me if I don't say it. A Distant Thunder. So yeah, both of these are really cool, as is their first two, which I don't have yet, but yeah. Hellstar, just such a great band, extremely good guitar work, especially on Nosferatu, which is why I decided to use this one. The guitar work is just insane, very neoclassical, which sounds great in the right context. Now we are onto the LPs. There's no particular order to any of this, by the way, but Metal Church, this is very commonly referred to as the best debut album ever. I definitely think it's one of them. Really good live. I'm very glad I got to see them live. I don't know if they're still going. Maybe someone in the comments can inform me, but I'm going to guess perhaps not because of the tragic deaths within the band. But yeah, this debut album is great. It just walks that line of power and thrash metal. If there's one album that is like the cement between the brick of power and the brick of thrash metal, this is it. Absolutely essential. Malice, another band from the American emergence. Dave Mustaine even did some guest vocals on this album. Really cool. License to Kill. Very wild and crazy sounding album. Really enjoy this one. It's a very fun album too. Next, again, some of these I'm not sure if I've talked about before, but I kind of skimmed through looking at the videos and I couldn't see it, and I'm really amazed how much I didn't talk about yet. But Dio, it's always hard to pick out of the early Dio albums, but Holy Diver, I think every heavy metal fan can see. Even if you saw like a small square of this art, you probably know what it is. It's such an iconic album, and of course Ronnie James Dio had one of the best voices in the genre. So yeah, this of course had to be in one of these videos sooner or later. Another one where it's difficult to pick from the records, but I went with Denim and Leather by Saxon. A book of the same name has just been released about the new wave of British heavy metal, which I've just read. Really cool book. It's almost like a zine in that it's like a kind of chronology of different people having their say, but I like that. Some people might not, but I think it's really cool. Yeah, Saxon, this is just one of the albums that really put British heavy metal on the map, again, in the new wave at least. As did Tigers of Pantang. This is Spellbound. Both this and the debut are great. I actually quite like some of the later stuff. This more rocky. The first thing I bought by them was the Paris by Air 7-inch. But yeah, really cool band. They should be touring later this year, so I finally get to see them because I sadly missed them in town when I was in high school. But yeah, I think this is the best example of Tigers of Pantang at their best. Definitely the most heavy metal record by them. And Atomcraft, a band I think is really underrated, featuring Tony Demolition Man Dolan, later of Venom, currently of Venom Inc., which are really worth catching live. Venom Inc., they have a really good set. But yeah, I like Atomcraft. Actually, it's nearly as good as the first couple Venom records for me. I really love this album. It's very sleazy speed metal, still with the very British kind of sound. It's the kind of album that feels dirty to listen to. I mean, to take a lyric from it, heavy metal, we're the best because we're the fucking dirtiest. I mean, it just, you know what you get with this kind of stuff. Now we're going to have some more Canadian speed metal after Exciter. Of course, Razor had to be featured. This isn't an album, strictly speaking. This is the EP, but I love this EP. The sound on this is, I guess, a bit more heavy and power metal, still lingering in the speed and thrash. All the first 4 albums are flawless in my opinion. In fact, I need to get more of them because I'm missing a couple. But yeah, Razor, absolutely amazing. Some of Canada's strongest music. Now this is one I posted on my Instagram and Facebook, and I was really amazed to see just how many people love this album, just how much. And it's Attacker's debut, Battle at Helm's Deep. I actually found this band from their second album, this called The Second Attack, when I was climbing a mountain, and I was like, it really energized me. And then I went back and checked out the debut, and I like this one even more, although that one's also great. And yeah, this artwork again is just a perfect example of that crude artwork I really like. I think fine art is lost on someone like me a bit, although I like some very detailed art like Chris Moore and Mark Riddick. This kind of very crude style always, if I was going through records in a shop, as I regularly do, I would pick this out and go, wow, that looks great. And now some more colourful stuff from Heavy Load. Again, not strictly an album like some of these. We're not being too strict on that, but yeah, Heavy Load's Metal Conquest EP. This is a bootleg before anyone's like, oh, you have the real one. No, sadly not. Yeah, a lot of cool bonus tracks on this. All of Heavy Load stuff's really worth having, but I think they are some of the finest heavy metal from Sweden that is criminally underrated in terms of they deserve to be a massive band, and yet they still have a great following, but I guess it's more of a cult following. But yeah, Heavy Load, definitely some of the best Swedish heavy metal. And down to our last couple of things, we have Griffin, Flight of the Griffin, really cool. Another one of those just underrated gems that you're like, how did I not hear this already? yeah, just a really cool power metal album. And finally, a band I'm really amazed that I never had on this one. Manowar, Kings of Metal. I don't think anything else could close out this video quite as well as the Kings of Metal themselves. You can love them or hate them. I think I can understand most opinions on Manowar, but especially when they had Ross the Boss taking the guitars, I think that they were just at their prime. They've released some great albums since. Obviously, the Carl Logan thing leaves a bit of a sour taste in the mouth, so if you want to steer clear of that, which is completely respectable, the Ross the Boss albums are the best anyway. Yeah, I saw Ross the Boss live, never saw Manowar yet, sadly. But yeah, Kings of Metal, what an album to close this out. Epic in sonic form, pure greatness, and that is 30 records that I have risen from the vaults of records, and just I play a lot of these, most of these in fact, on all the time. Between all the black metal, the death metal, the war metal, the thrash metal, I listen to so much of this stuff and it never gets tiresome for me. None of it does. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know some people were really excited for this video. I'm sure there's plenty of you who are like, I don't care, talk about underground stuff, which is going to be right around the corner. You know, that's not gone away. This is just something a bit different for all the old school heavy metal maniacs. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. You know, this is quite a cool kind of video where a lot of people are going to have a lot of strong opinions. So, you know, if you have some of your favorites are in here, or you think I'd like another band like this that you think I might not know, you know, feel free to leave a comment. As I always say in the more opinionated videos, maybe if you're going to be a tool and can't have a constructive opinion, keep it to yourself. But, you know, comments open. If I think someone's been a dick about it, I'm just going to ignore it. But generally, I don't have much of that on YouTube. Everyone, 99.99% of the time, everyone's super cool in having their say and doing it in a really great way that makes the heavy metal community look really cool. And you know, you guys, a lot of you clearly have very good taste and something to say about it. So yeah, drop a comment below if you feel free, if you feel like it rather. If you don't want to, fine. But yeah, go listen to these records, play them real fucking loud and have a great time. Until next time, stay metal.